Welcome to Grew with Portia, the podcast that uncovers the hidden treasures within grief. I'm your host, Portia the producer, and I'm inviting you to join me on a transformative journey where we will exchange laughter, of course the best medicine of them all. Reflect on cherished memories. Remember that time that the little boy grabbed my hand instead of his mother's at the amusement park? Yikes. And of course, discover gratitude while navigating one of life's hardest challenges, loss. So get ready to grow with me, Portia the producer. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Grow with Portia. I am your host, Portia Booker, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with all things Grow with Portia. One of the things that I love about having conversation with different people who have experienced a loss in their life is how they've been able to create a legacy. Right? Let me say that again. Whenever I have conversation with different individuals who have experienced some sort of a loss in their life, they've found a way to create a legacy out of it. And how many of us have been in that boat where we've experienced that loss or transition in our life and we've been able to pay it forward by seeing the opportunity within the obstacle? Let that sink in. So today I have the honor of being joined by a mother of two who's taking her story all the way through hopefully Congress at some point to get some things changed. She is a child safety advocate, author of, no pun intended, There's Still Hope. So welcome to Grow with Portia, Miss Hope Hooton. Hope, it's an honor to have you on the show. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, Portia, for having me.
Hope, for starters, before we dive into your story, one of the things I love to do on this show is give you the opportunity to share with our audience about your loved ones. So for our audience who's tuning in, Hope, please share with us about your two children, Lydia and Alec, about their personalities, who they were, and what you want people to remember about them.
Yeah, Alec was 7. He loved Pokemon and Trail Life USA. He loved basketball and soccer. He was always super fun and outgoing and charismatic. Lydia just had turned 6. She loved sparkles, unicorns, and she loved riding her scooter. They were inseparable. They loved each other, and Lydia was like Alec's shadow. She went everywhere he went. So, as far as knowing them and wanting your audience to get to know who they were, I would like to say that Alec and Lydia were joy and their lives mattered and they still matter, even in their lasting legacy.
Thank you, Hope, for sharing that. I mean, I can see, as a kid, I grew up playing Pokemon games, Pokemon cards, and it seems that unicorns have become a resurgence, just like so many other, right, nostalgic
Yes.
cartoons. Powerpuff Girls have come back. Obviously, Scooby-Doo has been around forever. But I love that there's still, again, that preservation of legacy of even those things that I grew up with in my childhood. And Hope,
Yeah.
for our audience, one day your life completely changed, right?
Yes.
This shift, this transition that you experienced. Can
Yes.
you share with our audience about that day, that transition in your life, and how you're taking that to implement change in so many different areas for so many people today?
Yeah. So, actually, this week will be the 2-year anniversary of Alec and Lydia. They died on May 19th, 2024, and I found out that something happened the next day, which would have been Monday, May 20th, 2024, when the school called me with an unexcused absence. And I thought that that was very strange. They were at their father's house for an unsupervised visit. The courts had previously granted him unsupervised parenting time, even despite history of domestic violence towards myself. I had an order of protection, and he had a severe psychiatric instability with mental health. So he had bipolar with psychosis, with severe mania. And so, even despite all of those things that transpired, the courts felt that it was safe enough for him to be unsupervised with the children, even though I didn't agree and didn't feel like it was. My hands were tied, so I had to send them to unsupervised visitation. And that Monday changed my life forever. I called, no answer, texted, no answer, went over there and knocked on the door, no sound inside. Called the police. They came, did their perimeter checks, checked all the doors and windows, and they went inside um, because they thought that it was the best for all parties involved. And unfortunately, they found all three deceased inside. And so that's just devastating when your whole world falls apart in like literally a blink of an eye. And so, um, through that, through my grief these past 2 years, my healing, my therapy, my trust in the Lord, um, I have reshaped my life. And I used to be a special education teacher before everything happened. And so now I took my education and instead of teaching little kids, I teach adults about child safety and advocate for child safety and family court reform. I educate on domestic violence and coercive control. I educate on mental instability, mental illness, specifically when it has to do with a history of prior violence. And that's when we have cases like this, and this is called filicide. So filicide is when a parent intentionally takes the life of their own child or children. And this is a crisis that is happening silently in our country. There is over the ones that are recorded, there's over 700 cases of filicide a year in our country that averages out to about 2 to 3 kids a day. And those are the ones that are reported accurately. We know that there's ones that aren't reported accurately. And by that, I mean there's missing children's cases that haven't been solved, but they became a missing person because of filicide, right? And they disposed of their body. And so there's other cases that aren't filed under filicide that should be. So that number is a lot higher than 700 a year. Um, and so this is something that I'm wanting to change in the family court system specifically, because we see filicide in family courts when a partner loses control over the situation, and the only way that they can regain control is unfortunately sometimes taking a child's life or children's lives, sometimes the whole family's lives. And so I have partnered with Arizona legislators because this is where the case happened, was in Arizona. This is where we used to live. And so now I champion the Alec and Lydia Act. And so it's a child safety bill that will put child safety first above all else. And it will make sure that if there is a history of domestic violence or coercive control that courts know about, the judges have to stop and look at those criteria, look at everything, including mental instability is in there as well. They'll have to look at everything, and then that parent that is the abuser will not have unsupervised parenting time until they can overcome the presumption of the domestic violence or coercive control. So this is huge. It would make Arizona the 11th state in our country to include coercive control underneath the umbrella of abuse. And Arizona is just the first stop. Once I'm done there, I will go and push it into Michigan, where I currently live. I was born and raised here, currently live in Michigan. I'll have it here. And then after that, tackle each state after that. So this is really important. And I get messages every day from women, from families that are saying, has this bill passed yet? Has this been implemented yet? And because there are cases right now today that are in danger of this happening, and we need to make sure that we put protocols and procedures in place to save children.
Well, Hope, first of all, I mean, I lots of love to you because this is not easy. Your life changed literally in the blink of an eye. You who would have thought that you would go and see what's going on? Why are my kids not in school? To find that that would be the last time you saw them.
Yes.
And also to the court providing unsupervised visitations to your husband at the time, considering all of the documentation and obvious signs of mental instability. And also, too, you brought up about domestic violence and filicide. And as we both know, there's been two big cases in the last couple of months, one in Virginia and also, I believe, one in DC, I believe. One
Yep.
was in, I
And
know one
one
was in Virginia and the other one was in one of the states, but we've had two.
Louisiana was the
Louisiana,
biggest.
that's right. I'm sorry, Louisiana, that's right. So we've had two in the news that have made headlines, even though this is not something new, right?
Correct.
Domestic violence, filicide has been going on for years, but because of these two big, gigantic cases, now it has become the forefront and center of what I like to call the trending wheel. And I'm curious, Hope, there's warning signs that are often overlooked, patterns, right, of these types of situations. Can you share with our audience, Hope, about some of the warning signs that you think most of the time the mainstream is not seeing, that you've had experience with firsthand?
Yeah, well, a lot of those ones that were in the new cases were also in mine. There's patterns. They're always the same. Um, Domestic violence history, either towards a partner or towards just people in the community. There can be a criminal history, but there doesn't have to be. There can be unchecked severe mental illness, coercive control, which is when that person that is abusive loses control and they no longer have control over their partner, they do the ultimate act of filicide. And coercive control, so your audience understands, is when a victim is no longer their own person. They're an extension of the abuser. They have no autonomy in the relationship. So for me, I was an extension of him. He would tell me when I needed to eat, when I needed to go to bed, when I needed to work out, what I needed to wear. He would pick out my clothes for me. He controlled every aspect of my life. And so these are huge red flag and lethality risk markers that our courts, our police, everyone in the system needs to pay attention to. Even the media, the media needs to start using the word filicide in those cases because the incident in Shreveport, Louisiana, they considered it a murder suicide, which it is. But when it includes children, it should be labeled as a filicide suicide because filicide is child death. And then he was killed by the police in that case. But a lot of the cases, the perpetrators commit suicide. So, um, yeah, harm to pets is one. So if they're harmful to animals, um, they don't care about property, even their own property, they don't care about. All of these things are risk markers. Isolation, taking you away from your friends and family. And yeah, I mean, there's so many to list, but those are the main ones.
And Hope, I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront because I don't think a lot of people they hear the word coercive, but there's often what I like to call a sexual connotation along with that. Like, but it's deeper than that. As you
Oh,
mentioned,
yes.
him telling you what time you can eat, what time you can, go to the gym, what time you need to go to bed, right? Literally those little subtle things that most people would not think of as being that coercive control. And then probably
Correct.
it also extends to the children, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
hope for our audience, this has been an amazing conversation. We almost have to probably do a part two because there's so much to unpack here. For our audience, Hope, who's tuning in, if they want to connect with you, if they want to support the Alec and Lydia Act, if they want to also get a copy of your book, There's Still Hope, how can they connect with you today?
Yeah, they can grab my book on Amazon. There's Still Hope, A Journey of Adversity, Tragedy, and Unshakable Faith. If you just type in There's Still Hope and then type in Hope Hooton, it will pop up. And you also can follow me on social media. My handle is Hope in the Pain on all social medias.
Excellent. So you can find Hope if you do a Google search. You know, Google is your friend. Of course, we got AI. I'm sure AI can tell us
Oh,
also
yes.
where to find you as well.
Yes.
You can get a copy of her book, There Is Still Hope. Also on
Yeah.
social media, Hope in the Pain.
Yes, and I have a podcast as well, and we do educate and bring awareness to filicide. It's called Voices Against Filicide, and you can find that wherever you stream your podcasts.
Excellent. So there's multiple ways you can connect with Hope, support her journey, and follow this currently hot topic in our world today of domestic violence and filicide. And Hope, again, lots of love to you. You
Thank
know, this
you.
is not easy. And I'm sure some days it can be more trying than others. And also considering that it's so fresh for you. Right. I thought originally before I kind of did some research, this was like maybe a 10-year-old thing. And I said, oh no, this is recent. This isn't even 5 years old yet.
Oh no, 2 years this week, 2 years on Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Hope, thank you so much again for coming on. Well, everybody, that was Lydia and Alec's mother, Hope Hooton, that you heard from today on Grew with Portia. And that concludes our conversation. And until next time, everybody, peace and hair grease, everyone.